If this is your first time here, then welcome to my channel, where you'll find real step-by-step guides on how to build your own business. This is the first video of my Journey to Freedom series, where we'll build a business together. In this series, I'm going to walk you through everything that I do to grow my business so that you can duplicate it for yourself and get the results that you want. If you're tired of those 8 tips or 7-step guides, and you just want somebody to walk you through setting up your business and getting it up and running, then you're in the right place. This series is going to feel like somebody's right next to you and guiding you every step of the way from where to go, what to do, and how to do it to start your online business. If you have explored how to start your business, you might have encountered a word like niche or niche. So what is a niche? This is just my interpretation of what it is, but the concept is pretty much the same everywhere you look. A niche is just another word for a specialized topic or topics that are within a subject. These subjects are something that people might be looking for or they might be interested in. It's pretty plain and simple. And there are many ways you can go about finding a niche, and we're going to look at a structured way of finding one. If you want theory and the philosophies about whether having a niche or not having a niche is right for you, then there should be the link in the description below where you can find more details. But if you're here, then you've probably already made your choice to follow a niche. So let's get right into it. The first thing you want to do is write down some topics or subjects that you feel confident in talking about. And it's important that you are confident in these topics because it helps build that trust between you and your audience. Then start to elaborate on each of those topics. Just start randomly jotting down some ideas that you can think of that relate to that topic. Once your ideas on each topic start to grow, then you start to notice that one or two of your topics will have more ideas than the others. You'll notice that those ideas on that specific topic come more naturally to you. Also, once you have these ideas jotted down, ask yourself these questions. How can this help my audience? And/or what problem does it solve? And keep asking these questions as you come up with new ideas. Don't stop here. Keep expanding on the individual ideas of each topic. By doing this, not only will it help you find your niche, but it'll also be part of your business blueprint that's going to be very helpful later on in this series. So let's go through an example together. I am a self-proclaimed tech enthusiast, so I feel pretty confident in talking about the technologies. So let's go ahead and decide on 3 niches that I want to talk about. Let's say I want to talk about computers, laptops, and tablets. And as I write down these ideas on each topic, I start to notice that I have more ideas in the computer niche. So what do I want to do with computers? I want to build them. How can I help someone or solve an issue they may have? I want to make tutorials for beginners on how to build a computer. And how I achieve that? By making a part selection guide. And as you go deeper and deeper, you'll start to see the bigger picture and you start to come up with more ideas. And in this example, you can see that I will go so far as to talk about individual parts that make up a computer. So this will help people to pick the right parts to build one for themselves. So you can use this method for pretty much any niche out there. And I'm going to take this a step further and give you guys another practical example that you can use to help narrow down your niche if it's still too broad. So let's head on over to a web browser and see it in action. Alright, so we are here at walmart.com for our example, and what we're going to want to do is select the menu icon in the top corner here. Then we're going to go head down to the departments section, and here you can see all the categories we can choose for our niche. So to keep in line with our previous example, I'm going to choose a category that I feel confident in talking about, and that's going to be electronics. So I'll select that. And then you can see that there are just so many categories that we can choose from within our niche, meaning it's still too broad. And right now, as we're just starting out, it's best to narrow down a niche a bit more. So I'm going to go and choose computers. Now, if you scroll down to the categories, it's much more manageable, but it's still pretty broad, wouldn't you say? Let's see where else we can narrow down our niche. Like the previous example, we want to help our audience to build their own computers so that we can help them by picking out computer parts. With that in mind, I'm going to go into the computer components. So if we take a look at the categories now, we're in a much more narrow niche, and there's still tons of topics within that category that we can use for our content, which is great. This would probably be our area of niche. We could do tutorials, reviews, and top choices in each of these components to help them build a computer. You see where I'm getting at with this? A question you might have is, should I go even more niche than this? And I would say that it would depend. It would depend on your objective and the niche itself. So let me use this niche as an example. If you can remember, our objective is to help our audience build a computer. So you niche it down one more layer, like let's say graphics cards. Oh yeah, so before I even get into that, we'll call each time we niche down a layer. We'll call the top category layer 1, and then every time you niche down, we'll add a layer to it. So layer 2, layer 3, and layer 4, and so forth. Anyway, we went down to layer 4, which is graphics cards. Now sure, you can make this your niche, but based on our objective, we can't build a computer with only graphics cards, can we? No, of course not. So our example would not be a good idea to niche down any further, but you could start off making content in graphics cards and then make your way up a layer as you see fit. Like if you see that your audience is starting to grow and you want to create content to match and fit your audience's needs. And let's do another example so we can really drive this method home. Let me back this up a bit so we can start from the beginning. Let's say I chose to talk about tablets for my niche instead of computers. So let me select tablets from the electronics categories here. And here's the problem that I already see in this niche. There's just not much to talk about. At this point, I really wouldn't niche down any further because if I did, it would be much harder for me to create long-term content. Not that it's impossible, but it would make it too narrow to really grow. So in this instance, I would stay on this layer from my niche. Once again, you could go down a layer, like let's say you would like to talk about kids' tablets. And then if you run out of content here, then you can go up a layer and then create content on specific content like iPads or Android tablets. And in our previous example, I would say it's best to stay at layer 3 as our niche. And then you can always jump up and down a layer as you see fit. But I want you guys to try it out for yourself, play around with it, and see if this method helps you find your niche or helps you narrow down your niche. Alright, so let's go ahead and back out of this and we'll talk about some more stuff, shall we? Alright, so let's talk about competitiveness and profitability of your niche. I wasn't going to talk about this now because I think it deserves its own segment since there's a lot to cover when it comes to step-by-step procedures. But I wanted to get you guys up and running, so we'll cover a few things to get you guys going, and I'll make a more detailed, dedicated content for it later on. So before you settle on your niche, you want to verify that there's even going to be a need for your niche from your audience. And one way to check how competitive your niche is by using Google's search engine. And let's go through an example. If you just type in our objective, build a computer, in the Google search and take a look at the results, you can see there are over 10 billion results. Two things that you can take away from this information. The good thing about this information is that the results tell us that this is a very popular niche. But since it's so popular, it's also extremely competitive. But that's okay. So if we niche it down a bit like we did in our example and type in graphics cards, now we only see results for just over 2 billion instead of 10 billion, which makes it much better. It's still a very saturated market, but it's still less competition from our previous search. Alright, now, so here's another free tool you can use. What we're going to use is called Google Trends. And Google Trends is a free tool that tracks what people all over the world are searching for at any given moment. It's a great tool that I highly recommend using to track down trends for every niche. Alright, so in line with what we've been talking about, I'm going to go ahead and type in build a computer as our topic here. So now that we're going to see a chart here that ranges from 0 up to 100. And these numbers are not exactly in a percentage, but instead it's a guide on how trending your topic is. Meaning if your topic is trending of 0, then that means nobody's interested in your topic. And if it's at 100, then it's red hot. People want to know more about it. You could also type in a similar term to compare what other people are searching for that has a similar meaning to your idea. So I know another word for your computer is PC. So I'll type in build a PC instead of computer in the compare section here. So now the chart has two lines. One for build a computer in blue, and the other is build a PC in red. And you can see that more people are interested in the term PC than computer. So as far as naming conventions, you should probably use the word PC instead of computer for your niche. A couple of noteworthy things that you will find here is that you can choose what location you want to do your term search on. If you want to see how trendy your niche is in a certain country, then you can go ahead and do that here. You can also change the time frame to see if your niche has been downtrending or uptrending over time. You can change it to display what's trending within the day or all the way back to 2004, or even do a custom range if you want to get real specific. You can even select a specific category to see if your term is trending in other categories that are not in your niche. And you can choose a specific search platform. For instance, if you only want to know what's trending on YouTube, then you can filter results just for what people are searching on YouTube. Also, if you scroll down a bit here, you can see what regions in the location that you choose that have been interested in your niche term. And at the right of that, you can see what's related terms have been rising in trend. You can also choose the drop-down box here and choose the top related searches instead of what's been on the rise. And there is much more than that you can do with this tool, but that in a nutshell is what you need to help you choose your niche. And all the information that we talked about can be found in the description below if you want to know more about it. And before you make a decision on niche, you should do your due diligence and research on your niche. Use the tools that we talked about and fine-tune it to cater to your audience. Sometimes when you're doing your research, you start to think there's just way too much competition out there. But don't be discouraged by the numbers. Quality always wins over quantity. Let that fuel you to find a way and be creative to overcome it. And you guys are way more creative than I am, so I believe it's within you to overcome it. And here are some tips I can give you. Try to be different from the rest of the competition. Find an angle or a different approach to the same solution. Let me give you guys an example, and I'll use this channel. Right, my niche is in the business and finance category, and I narrowed it down to guides to build an online business and find financial freedom. But the problem that I'm facing is that it's a highly competitive market, and everyone in their family is making content on it. So I did my research, and I started to see a pattern. Most of the guys out there were already accomplished and established businesses. And sure, there is something to be said about following ideas and recommendations from proven methods of success. So my first thought is, how can I stand out from these other guys? My first angle of approach is that instead of talking about these steps on how to create your business, why not just show everyone each and every step that I take to create my business from a non-established standpoint? So I'm relating to the audience not from all the way on the top, but as someone that's already kind of like in the same shoes as them. My second way to be different than the crowd is instead of just giving you guys some generic steps, I wanted to provide a more complete answer to the question. So as I tried to figure out my business, I started to realize there are a lot of holes in other people's contents that need to be filled. For instance, this happened to me. After I followed a very popular Google AdSense guide to apply ads on my site, I received a rejection letter a couple days later. And I wish I knew what exact criteria that were needed to be approved so I didn't have to waste my time. But the good thing about it was I was able to duplicate it, test it, and then document every step so I can create that content that fills that gap. I figured, hey, if I ran into this issue, there's got to be tons of others that would love to have this information, which I'll have coming probably in another week or so. Another way I plan to stand out from the crowd is to add extra value to my content. And you will see tons of content floating around that will give you generic tips on how to do so and so. And I wasted many hours on watching and reading these types of content just to achieve nothing. Raise your hand if you've been there. So another angle for me is not to only provide those steps, but to also add extra value to it. For instance, let's say I list out top 3 steps to become a network engineer. Not only will you get these steps, but I'll tell you what to learn, where to get your resources, how to do it, how long you'll take, and what to expect. Because there have been many times I go through content that just leaves me empty-handed, and then I have to go elsewhere to find, all the information that I need. And I don't want to do that to you guys, so I'm going to try to completely answer the questions of the content that I'm making. It might take me longer to make my content, but there's no price when it comes to quality content. A couple of things that I want you guys to take away from this. The first thing is that don't be afraid to explore your niches. Don't limit yourself to one style. Keep an open mindset as you're making your decision on which niche resonates best for you. And regardless of what your niche may be, you always want to focus on your audience because without them, you won't be able to grow. So always ask, how does your niche help your audience? What exact problem does it solve? If you can answer these questions and then find a way to relay that information to your audience where it resonates with them, then you know you're going in the right direction. And I also want to let you guys know what's also in the works and some stuff that's coming up soon. I've been working on some content to help you guys name your business, checking your business availability, representing your business, and create a business blueprint and much more. All the boring stuff. Anyway, I hope you guys like this video. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.